Hi friends, Nick here from Technology Lowdown. Today we're looking at Ubiquiti's UNMS system, which is designed for monitoring your EdgeSwitches, your EdgeRouters, and your AirOS appliances. Previously, these have only been manageable via directly accessing them through the IP address. Sure, they might have hooked into some other management system such as LibreNMS, which is actually something I was looking at before I finally decided just to move with UNMS, which is designed specifically for Ubiquiti's Edge OS devices. And I was actually pleasantly surprised because UNMS, it doesn't just support Edge equipment or their own devices. It uses the SNMP protocol, which means you can also add the other switches and appliances that you might have within your operating environment. So let's jump on over to Ubiquiti's website here, and we can see that UNMS is quite a nice platform, as we can see in the screenshot here. It has geolocation information in there if you add that into there. And look, you can actually get it for free if you're using their hosted cloud environment. So that is an option only if you have 10 or more devices. In my case, I don't have more than 10 Ubiquiti Edge OS or NanoStations to allow me to have that free hosting equivalent, but I'm just running it on a private internal web server, which is more than adequate for my needs because I don't need it accessible via remote sites. It's just the one site that has this equipment. So Ubiquiti's NMS system here, you can automatically add your clients in. You can add them in bulk as well. And one of the great things which I have used already is updating firmware on your devices. Previously, this has been a time-consuming process. You need to log into each of your switches, then you can forget which ones you've already done, and you kind of need to think about, oh, I can't update that one yet, because if I update that one, then the link is going to drop out for the next switch in the line. So that's just some of the ways of how I've been using it so far. So let's just jump straight in to this system. So I'm running it on a hypervisor, as I mentioned earlier, and that is with ProxMox, which actually works quite well with UNMS. I've had no problems. I'm currently running it on Ubuntu 18.04. And you can see here it's got a GUI front end, so that is something I'll be changing shortly. But when I'm testing out software, especially software packages I'm not familiar with, I tend to install it on a graphical environment first. So I always have the option of resorting to something graphical to fix an issue. And then I end up switching to the console-only server, such as Ubuntu server without the GUI. And to host it, I find that 2 gig of RAM is more than enough for 20-something devices, which I have in there at the moment. And just the one CPU, you really don't need much for this system. So I'll open up UNMS, which I've got open right here, and pretty much you got to log in from the get-go, so that's good security. And there are apps for your phone. You've got iOS apps and Android apps. And pretty much this is the page that it normally takes you to, but I must have had that link cached there. So you can see your whole network snapshot. You've got 14 different devices, which are good. And what actually happens is that if one of these devices are down, it will be filterable by clicking on these links here. You've got discovered, which can be new devices you've added to your network, and then good is everything else. If something's an outage, then that would be here as well. So as an example of that, if I just go back to the dashboard here and click on all these good devices, we can see that this one here, MBC Lodge, has only been up to 14 hours. Now the reason for that is because that actually had a power outage yesterday, so that would have actually been showing an outage if I was logged into the system at that time. So that is how that functionality there works. And we've got this notification bell up here in the corner. You can click here to find out when someone has logged into the switch, and you can see what's going on with your various equipment. So there's quite a few notices there which do fill up after a period of time. So if we go back to the good page, you can get around this system very easily. You can just click on the IP address of it and it will take you straight to the device. So you can click on the device name, and here is the UNMS side of the system. So I'll just go back for a moment. I'll show you another way of how you can get to your devices. So you got this sites link here on the left, it's the picture of the computer network here. And we've got two sites. I've modified the addresses for this video, so the geolocation isn't revealing any information about the sites here. So here we've got the church, right? So we'll open this one up. And look, you've got a complete snapshot of the network with this topology overview. So we can see we've got a router here. This is where the internet comes in. We've then got a switch, and then we've got a phone system here. We have another switch. We have another switch again, which is linked back to the core switch here. Then we've got this wireless link to a site, and another wireless link here to the lodge, and a manse here. So look, it shows you a great view. If you don't want that topology view, just click on list, and then you can see all your devices there. You can see what the signal's like, and you can see what their CPU usage is like. So it's very detailed, the information that it is providing you. For devices, say, such as this Raspberry Pi, which I've installed an SNMP onto, you can see that it doesn't fill in all that extra information that Ubiquiti's UNMS gathers from their own devices, and that's just because they're not entirely supported, but you can add them, and the software is smart enough to work out, say, the data or traffic flows. So if I click on this UNMS DRATAC one here, we can see that it's picked up the IP addresses which are assigned to the interfaces. And if I just go back to this topology view, I'll mouse on over this one here, we can see that there is actually traffic flowing there, and that's because this switch is monitoring which port the data is flowing through. And in fact, if I go back to this previous page here, if you click on these little green icons here, you can select which interface it is connected to. So I've already done this one. I've selected which interface is connected to the DRATAC, and so now that's monitoring the data flowing through there. So if we go back to the devices page here, let's just go back to the list view, because this is quite a useful area. So in this list view, you can select your devices. So say I'll select these EdgeSwitches, right? Say you've got maintenance going on, you know there's going to be a power outage at your site, you can select all your devices that you know will be affected, and you can turn on maintenance mode. And that will disable those notifications that you get in here for when that equipment goes down. So I'll just go back to here, and I'll take that maintenance mode off. Turn off maintenance mode. And so now that maintenance mode is off. So that would mean that when they go down, they will affect the stats as to how that device is going on your network. If we just open up one of these switches here, I quite like the view of these. So you've got your latency here, 0 milliseconds, that's pretty good there, isn't it? Then we've got the CPU and RAM usage, a couple of spikes along the way, quite a few frequent spikes, but it's nothing to be too concerned about. Everything is pretty much steady there, so there's still lots of room there for traffic to be moving and for the network to expand. And it shows you this great detailed view of the data flows on your network for every single port. This is switch 4. This one in particular isn't used all that heavily, so let's go to one which is SW1 here. This one is one which is utilized quite a bit. So this one has a bit more traffic flowing through it. You can see CPU is up around 90%, but it's only spiking at that. It's not at that the whole time. So nothing to be too concerned about. We've got RAM at about 56% there as well. So that's some of the stats there, but then we have all this port information here as well, which you saw on the previous one, but it wasn't really doing too much there. So this is a link, the fiber link on the switch, which is going to SW2, and you can see that traffic flowing right there. So we do have some security cameras plugged into this other switch here, which is SW2. It's a 250 watt PoE switch, and we can see that there is a lot more data flowing through these links. So here we are. Here is a security camera, and we can see that we've got quite a constant flow of traffic there, and another one here as well. So when you're on the actual device page like we are at the moment, you can click on the logs here, and you can see exactly when devices have been connected to your different ports. So say if you have a user that comes in with their laptop every day, you would see when they connect their laptop to the network and when they disconnect it. So it logs that information as it is happening. All the outages are listed here as well. A lot of these are from when I was setting up this software just a few days ago. I may have been restarting or didn't actually have maintenance mode turned on, but that is all right. Now, the other great thing about UNMS is it creates your backups of the device on a daily basis. Now, you can set this to a different time window, but I find that a daily basis is fine for me, and I think it by default sets it to keep 30 days of backups, so you can restore for up to 30 days in the past. Let's just go back to this dashboard view for a moment. Then we'll click on devices, and if we go to this wireless link here, this is the church here. So this is a slightly different view for the AirMax devices than the EdgeSwitches. It, in fact, is a bit more pleasing on the eyes, and you can see information like how far that distance is for that link that you've got set up, and straight from this page you can click on Go to IP address, and what this does, it will actually sign you into the device using the handshake, I suppose, that allows you to log into the device. Now, this appears to be functionality which doesn't exist for the EdgeSwitches. So if you do want to log directly into your EdgeSwitches, you'll probably find you'll still actually need to log in. The closest thing to it is under settings, you got the option to go to, you can change the password. That's pretty much the functionality of how easy it is to log into your EdgeSwitches. But there is a feature when you're on your switch page and on all your devices, you can click on the key here in the corner and it will show the password. I won't click on that one for now because it will show the password on the screen. Alright, so this is that link that it loaded up. It logged me into automatically. We can see here we've got traffic flowing through quite nicely. But yeah, it just allows you to go straight to the device without even logging in. Okay, so that is some of the functionality of what you can see there with your EdgeSwitches and with your NanoStations or your Air OS devices. So for the moment, I'll show you what it's like when you add another device to UNMS. So I'll click on this router here. We can see we've got all these data fields here. There's quite a few ports in this router, but it picks up the MAC addresses there just using SNMP. Another one here as an example is if I go to this site here, we can then click on this one here, which is a HP switch. And if you have a look at all that it's picked up all those ports which are on that switch and these virtual interfaces here. And it's also got these MAC addresses as well. And we can see if there's been outages. So it does log that information. And again, in the topology view for that site, it will show the traffic flowing to that device because we have linked it using the properties of the data link layer there. So there is a reporting side to UNMS as well. If you go into here, if you've got NetFlow active, say with some of your equipment, then information from that will flow into there. We've also got information here about the link capacity and the receiving and the transceiving rates as well. So that is some functionality there as to what you can get through the reports. If we go into Firmware Manager, this is something which I've used already. You can basically go into here. I would recommend you select Show Only Firmware for My Devices, otherwise you'll see a huge list of firmware which is not even relevant to what you are doing. So from here we can just select this firmware and upgrade devices. It will then show all the devices that are compatible with that. You can then select them and schedule the firmware change. Now when you click Schedule Firmware, it will actually happen pretty much straight away. It won't happen over a period of time or at the time that you specify. So take that into consideration. So if you do click that button, click it at a time which is after hours. It doesn't appear to be a way to schedule it to run at a certain time. So that is an improvement which Ubiquiti should be making. We also have this task manager down here as well. So when firmware is out of date, it can show it down here saying that there's new firmware out that you need. The other thing here, we can also click on these other firmwares. So we've got the NanoStation Loco M2 upgrade devices, and it will show those that which are compatible with it as well. So Discovery Manager, that is where you can add your devices in. So you can scan an entire subnet or IP range. So I'll just add in the network management range here. I'll go Start. And look, it's picking up all those devices which are on that network. So these ones are already in the system, and hence why they have a green icon there. In fact, there's not really many devices I haven't added to this. So, what have I got? Let's see what phones show up. I'll scan the phone subnet. Yeah, here's all the phones they have shown up. So basically we can just click on one of these devices, because pretty much all network equipment use SNMP. We can just click on Add, and it will add that phone to the system. You would have to give it a role, of course, but I'm not sure why you would want to add a phone to your UNMS, but you could do that if you were so inclined. Alright, so let's take a look at the settings side of UNMS down here. We got Settings. So from here we can configure the IP address, the login screen. It's defaulting to the NMS side, because there's actually two sides to UNMS. You've got the CRM side, which is kind of what's been set up for ISPs to manage their clients, because you can set it up so that it will cut out that link to your client when they reach their download limit, or it could say throttle their traffic if they're not doing the right things. So there is all that functionality of UNMS, but the CRM side I haven't really touched yet. So if we go down to this maintenance tab, we can see that everything is up to date. This is how you can update your actual UNMS system. You can download your support info for Ubiquiti. You've got your backups. So this is created on a daily basis here, so you can download your backup, and this is actually how you can transfer UNMS to a new system. The process for that is basically you install your OS on the new system that you're using, restore this backup, then there is a really easy way of transferring over your network. I believe it is in devices just here. We've got this migration option. When we turn that one on, you can give it the new IP address and port of that new server. So if we go back to users, you can see that you can create users, and you can see what devices have logged in to access that UNMS system. I haven't actually been in to create new users here, but looks like we do have different roles. We have a read-only viewer as well, so that might be useful if you wanted to provide that to, say, first level support, rather than giving them full access, which, say, maybe level 2 or level 3 would use. So if we have devices here, we've got device update frequency, backup settings, And yeah, it keeps 30 backups there. So that's 30 days of backups for your devices, which is generally fine. You might want to set that to more or less depending upon how frequently your devices change. So here you can see your outage windows. So if the device isn't reporting for 30 seconds or longer, then it will have an outage. Or if the device is being upgraded, it will report what it is doing. So that is Ubiquiti's UNMS. It is an incredibly simple system to use, and it is pretty much on par with other network management systems such as, say, HP IMC, which is used for managing ProCurve equipment. And UNMS, it can even do things like detect loops. Because of that topology view, you can see what it is actually doing with the STP and problems there. So I hope this video has been helpful to you in showing you the functionality of UNMS. If you like it, please like it. If you'd like to see more of my videos, subscribe, and don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. If you have any comments, comment, and I will answer your questions if you have those. For now, though, thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.